Okay.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. So I was out for breakfast on the weekend, and we were talking politics, and a buddy of mine, Dan Badanis, said, I know the most impressive young politician you can imagine who's running for mayor of Calgary. And I said, what? Mayor of Calgary? Grace Yan is her name, and she's unbelievably impressive. Said Dan, you've got to meet her, you've got to interview her, and you've got to find out what she's all about. So I tonight want to introduce you to Grace Yan, who's running for mayor of Calgary. Grace, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. This is really exciting to be here. And
So tell us a little bit about yourself. You're one of 22 people running for mayor of Calgary.
That's quite a number. I think that's actually the most. That's the most candidates for mayor ever.
That's ever run? That's interesting. Now, coming after Mayor Nenshi, has got to be a challenge. He's really made a voice and a name for himself in Calgary, has he not? The first Muslim mayor in Canada?
First Muslim, yeah, and person of color.
Yep.
So I hope to be the first female woman of color.
Now, has Edmonton or Red Deer or Lethbridge had female mayors, or are you going to be the first mayor of a major city in Alberta too?
I would be the first female mayor.
Excellent. Well, good luck. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. I understand that you came from Manila, Philippines in 1980 as an immigrant, and your mother was a math teacher in the Philippines?
Yeah, so actually we moved to Canada in 1975. And so we started off in Edmonton, and it was, so coming from Manila, I mean, I was born in Manila where there's no winter and there's no snow.
Yeah.
And we get here then in the middle of January with minus 35 and a ton of snow. So my mom said we almost just got back on that plane. You know, it was freezing. But yeah, we actually ended up in Edmonton, and my parents worked there. My mom was a math teacher. My dad was an electronics teacher in the Philippines, but they didn't recognize their education and their degrees. So they had to start over again, you know, and my mom became a nurse and my dad opened up his own business. So worked hard and achieved success. And so that's what I'm sort of, carrying on.
Paralegal and then a real estate broker, I understand.
Yes. So I, over 20 years as a paralegal. And then I became a residential realtor, and now I'm a commercial broker,
And so why the jump to running for mayor?
I think over the years of helping Calgarians from all walks of life, whether it was buying a home and relocating here from all over the world, or they're setting up a business. I've helped businesses, big and small, and hearing their concerns of, what positive changes that we can make in the city. And that really inspired me to step up. And of course, a lot of people were asking me to do this even last time. And I didn't run last time. So I thought, you know what, this is the best time for me. And this is a great time. And I'm glad that I'm doing this now.
Have you been involved in politics previously?
No.
So usually people think you've got to be, a town city councilor or something like that first. You don't think you need to?
No, we've had many mayors that weren't on council.
Right.
And so I think for me, it's being part of the solution. Okay, focusing on the solution and producing positive results.
So I understand that you have been very involved, if not on council, in charity boards. You're on something called the Canadian Women's Foundation, the American Alberta Paralegal Association, the past NAFTA Alberta Director of the Alberta Association of Professional Paralegals, and you received in 2019 a Women of Influence Award and a pair of Distinctive Women of Canada Awards. So it sounds like you've been reasonably involved in lots of different activities, even if you haven't been on city council?
Well, I think it's important to always give back to the community. And I'm the only mayoral candidate that was chosen by the biggest mask manufacturing company in Canada. Canada has won to donate 2 million masks to frontline workers, nonprofits, medical people. So we've been doing that. We've been busy giving back. And for me, it's all about just helping the community. So this has been huge. I mean, donating the masks that hit actually international news.
And sorry, this was with Amazon?
No, it's so Canada's one is one of the biggest mask manufacturers in Canada. So it's made in Canada. Their manufacturing facility is in Kelowna. So no, we've been they've been reaching out, these nonprofits or frontline workers, and we've been donating them.
Excellent.
Over 2 million masks, Brian.
And the election is when?
October 18th.
October 18th. And you're running against 21 other people, 22 in total.
Yeah.
It's going to be the challenge. No question. Let's take a break for some messages and come back more with Grace Yan in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. Saga 960. As many of you that have listened to me before know that I'm extremely interested in politics. We do political shows once or twice a week. And I've had the privilege of interviewing a lot of mayors across Ontario and politicians federally across the country, as well as all the provincial politicians here in Ontario. But what's going on in Alberta has really been interesting over the course of the last couple of years. Grace, I was chairman of something called the Mississauga City Summit. And one of the very first guests that we had come out talk about city building and what made great cities was Mayor Nenshi. And he was kind enough to come from Calgary. I guess he was in Toronto anyway, but come to Mississauga and spoke about what made great cities. And he spoke at length about how we would be surprised that Calgary is different than our perceptions. And I have to tell you, Grace, that you're not my perception of who would be or should be or could be mayor of Alberta. And I guess that's my my sense that you should be a cowboy or a cowgirl with a big cowboy hat on. How do you think Calgarians think about potentially voting for someone, an immigrant from Manila, Philippines, for mayor?
I think, Calgary is such a diverse city that I think that from what I'm hearing talking to Calgarians, they're just so excited that there's a female woman of color stepping up to really try and make a positive change. And it's really exciting, actually, when I'm door knocking and listening and hearing what Calgarians and what their concerns are. And so really it's an exciting sort of messaging that I'm getting from them.
Yeah, great. What are their concerns? What are the concerns of the typical Calgarian today?
Accountability, transparency, or the two biggest ones that I'm hearing.
And is the Calgary City Hall not known for accountability and transparency?
It's so we have, I think, the most closed door meetings. 700.
700 closed door meetings.
Yeah. And so Calgarians really need to know, and have a voice and be engaged in what's happening with the city. Calgarians want to know, why our projects like our arena keep going over budget all the time and why it's taking so slow. Calgarians want to know why our green line, which is 20 kilometers, our green line is like in our LRT, why 20 kilometers, of an LRT would cost 5.5 billion and take 6 years to build, when there is a bullet train from LA to Las Vegas that's 270 kilometers going through a mountain is 5.5 billion. Mind you, that's US, and that's taking 3 years, which they think that's also too long, and no public money. Okay? So, I mean, when you do the conversion into Canadian, it'd be 26 million a kilometer for this green line, which would equate to 520 million. So it's a little heavy at 5.5 billion, and Calgarians are just want to know. I mean, sure, we're going to have extra costs for logistics, shipping, whatever it is, but we just need to see the transparency of why these numbers are just so heavy for these projects and that they keep going up. And time is money.
Right.
So the longer it takes, obviously, the more it costs. So yeah, it's
so public infrastructure, LRT, and this arena
our arena
is a brand new arena right downtown Calgary, correct?
That they're building. Yeah.
And it's over budget as well?
It's over budget, 12.6 million. So, so I mean, the numbers aren't making any sense.
So I was in Edmonton and Calgary 2 weeks ago, and Edmonton head of economic development took me out and wanted to take me to the Ice District, and we went to a JW Marriott and we toured a town square, and he said, this arena and what we've built in downtown Edmonton around the arena has transformed Edmonton.
Yes.
Is that not sort of the dream for Calgary as well?
Of course. We need what I call a monumental arena. Okay. And that will really, sort of create this brand, that when people see it, they'll know that, wow, this is Calgary and it's amazing. And arenas especially, that you don't need public dollars. When you give incentives to private investors, they will build it. For example, the Las Vegas arena, that they gave naming rights to Legionnaire. There's no debt on that arena. Okay, they sold off all the seats. They're titled, and that was built in 2 years for 2.3 billion with no public dollars.
2.3 billion?
2.3 billion and no debt.
And Calgary is going to cost how much?
The total just keeps changing. I think I have no idea really what's it at right now, honestly, because it just keeps going higher and higher. And that's what we really need to focus on is, okay, what can we do to maybe get private investors like Staples Arena, Mercedes-Benz, Raymond James? They love their names on arenas. Okay, and that would help with funding. So I think—
don't you have a major financial institution in Canada that's got its name on the arena?
Well, right now on the Saddle Dome, it's the Scotiabank, right? But the new arena, or the BMO, right? But I mean, there needs to be a different plan, because we can't keep asking the public for money. They don't have any more money. And we really need to stick to a budget and live within our means. Okay. I mean, when I'm talking about that green line, the 20 kilometers, Brian, at 5.5 billion.
So I spent some time in Ottawa, and people in Ottawa were envious of the LRTs around Calgary. And I got a pitch from a couple of different people that talked about that the extensive number of LRTs in around Calgary were comparable to 3 or 4 times what the Ottawa was conceiving. And so therefore, some people think that Calgary has done an incredibly good job with not only transit, but I guess a ring road highway that's so highway systems around Calgary that are either constructed or being constructed. So your transit and transportation internationally, or at least across Canada, have gotten a reasonable amount of respect, no?
Not what I'm hearing. So our ring road is still not finished, and that's been planning and implementing for now over 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah. It's forever, and it's still going. And I think what we need to focus on is really trying to, complete these projects efficiently. And like I said, time is money. So the longer we take to do these things, it just costs more and more public dollars. And it's very stressful for Calgarians to see these projects take so long. Okay. And that's a lot what I'm hearing from Calgarians as well is, oh my goodness, like, because they have to live through the construction, live through, it's the traffic, and it's very stressful, when it takes that long.
Yeah, no, I
I
know.
don't know if you're familiar with,
We've
I
been
don't know if
building
you're
a
familiar with,
streetcar.
what's that?
We've been building a streetcar, not even an LRT, but a streetcar along St. Clair that devastated businesses, small businesses in the community for a long period of time. And then an LRT along Eglinton in Toronto that similarly seems to be taking way too long. So public transportation and transit construction is an issue for you and for Calgarians, you say. What else?
And obviously it's resurrecting the economy right now. So we need to get people back to work. There are 370,000 Calgarians that live on or below the poverty level. So we really need to address, positively creating a positive environment for businesses.
What are you going to do on that? When I was in Calgary, as I said 2 weeks ago, people were telling me that the vacancy rate for office space in downtown Calgary had never been higher. Is that true?
It's true. It's 40%.
What?
We have 40% vacancy.
40% vacancy in downtown Calgary.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
It's astronomical. So
So what can you possibly, other than oil and gas coming back, which may or may not happen, what can you do?
Well, we need to fill those towers, and right now we're seeing a lot of IT companies slowly coming. So yeah, we need to fill those towers. IT is, would be great. I'd love to see Facebook, Twitter, I don't care, Microsoft fill those towers. Our weather is conducive to data centers. So we've got a Calgary Herald building that has been vacant forever, which is, which would be great to put a Google data center in there. That would save, just the energy costs alone would save the money. And never mind, we've got a great environment for, we've got the mountains, we've got a, family friendly city, it's the arts community is growing. So we've got, education here too is a plus. And these companies, if they could just, I would be meeting with them. I'd be going there, Silicon Valley, and saying, just our weather alone, we'd be saving on energy. And so
how's the pitch received?
Well, no, that's where I would have to, go there, but they need to know, these companies need to know why they should be here in Calgary, and we need to, to obviously bring back the confidence, in the city so that these companies will come back.
Right.
And,
so public infrastructure spending on the arena as well as transit and attracting more businesses to Calgary to fill up the office buildings downtown. What else?
Well, I think a big topic as well for people is eradicating homelessness, right?
Homelessness.
And mental health is a big thing, especially after the pandemic. There's been many people affected by mental health, and and poverty reduction. These are all things that we have to have programs in place to know that there is help.
So the first three issues that you mentioned would typically be described as maybe right-wing or conservative issues. And then the last three issues, poverty and homelessness and mental health, more progressive left-wing liberal issues. Where do you fall on the political spectrum, or are you non-aligned?
No, I'm nonpartisan. As mayor, I represent the Calgarians and really what's best for Calgary right now and what will help Calgarians thrive and help the youth stay in Calgary, and also the seniors, right? And that means, and that goes back to transportation again. So when I talk to the youth and the seniors, transportation is a big thing because right now in Calgary, even though people say yes, we have an minority system, but it's just so limited. We have to drive to the station. Okay, so if you can't drive, it's a challenge. So when I know that when I relocate people from all over the world here, that's the first thing they say is, oh, this is a city you have to drive. And the youth have expressed that, we do need a more efficient transportation system so that they're able to get around the city to the various activities safely.
So the last week, I guess there was a poll that came out on candidates for mayor, and what it basically said is that Calgarians are undecided still. A ward councillor topped. Actually, I guess 3 ward councillors were in the top 3 places, and 9 of the 14 wards are going to change over with new councillors. So it looks like there's going to be a fair change in Calgary City Hall. But if there's 3 different councillors, current councillors, all running for mayor, and they're in the top 3 spots, how are you going to beat them?
Well, talking to Calgarians, they've been there. They're already there, but we're still in the same position. We're not seeing positive results. It's, you can only talk about solutions so much, but we need to see positive results, and that's why, for me, because of my strong negotiation skills, we need to be able to mobilize all the departments for the city, because currently there's all this infighting with city council. And that's why it's a challenge getting the positive results, because people need to actually work together. And
why does that infighting exist?
Because there's gaslighting. These counselors just like to, try and get as much media attention on themselves rather than focusing on the solution of what we can do for what's best for Calgary. And that's the change I want to bring, and the positive solutions, the positive results, and strong negotiation skills with the provincial and federal government that properly advocate for what we need in Calgary. This is the focus. This is what we need to focus on.
We're chatting tonight with Grace Yan, who is a candidate for mayor of Calgary, one of 22 people running for mayor of Calgary. The election is in October. She is a newbie. She's never run for politics before, but she's been extremely involved in her community. And in addition, has been both a paralegal as well as a residential and a commercial real estate broker. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back more with Grace in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Grace, we're coming to you from Mississauga, from Toronto, Greater Toronto area, and we're obviously interested in what's going on from a political standpoint across the country. And as we talked on the top, it was a little bit of a shock when Mayor Nenshi was elected mayor of Calgary, because that's sort of not the image that Calgary has within the typical Torontonian or Ontarian, I think, or Canadian, that someone that is a young urban Muslim could get elected mayor of Calgary. There was some backlash, though, wasn't there, to his election from sort of the establishment within Calgary, and how is the establishment approaching you?
I think, the establishment is welcoming a fresh new face, a fresh new blood, and obviously a fresh voice, because we do need change right now in Calgary. And, you're from Mississauga. Calgary is the size of Mississauga. We are 1.2 million. So it's quite manageable, the size, right? If we were the size of New York, 10 million, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, maybe, think about it. But, we're the size of Mississauga, so it's very, very manageable. And, you know, it's, um, it's refreshing to hear what, when I'm door knocking and hearing what Calgarians are saying, and that they're happy, to see a female, stand up and really look out for what's best for Calgary.
How did you announce?
So we had a press release. Okay. Retail Insider was the first one, and they're out of Toronto that did the press release. So, and then now, obviously, it's crunch time till October. And so it's been hectic. I mean, my days are 15-hour days. And we have events every week. We have a big volunteer event this week. So it's events every week, like a meet and greet. But I love it. To me, this is so much fun, and also learning a lot, obviously, along the way, and really knowing, what we need to do, moving forward.
So you've got some interesting people running against you. There's one person who's got almost, it would appear, a single issue campaign just against pedophilia, which is kind of interesting. You've got another one that's running for an anti-masking right, and doesn't want to have Alberta, Calgary, or Canada, I guess, have the right to be able to enforce masks. You've got a female from the United Way that is running. How are you going to beat all these people?
Well, I think, really my focus has always been just what I can do for Calgarians and what I bring to the table, and just focus on the positive solutions to produce positive results. And I think that's really what I, that's all I can do, is just focus on what I can bring, to the table.
Right. Some people are running against career politicians. Do you think that people in city council have been in politics too long? Should there be term limits?
Yeah, there should be term limits for sure. I think people maybe councilors just get too comfortable in that position, because we really, we're here to serve the Calgarians. It's a public, position. And, we really have to be always remembering why we're here. And that is to help really do what's best for the city. And so there should be term limits, for sure. And to hold you accountable. Accountability is another thing I'm hearing, right, from Calgarians. And, you just want to focus on the positive solutions and what we need to do to get that accomplished. And as council, we need to all work together and collaborate. I think I'd be a boring mayor, because everybody would just, really, we just get along. I mean, we don't need to argue. Of course, I'm not always going to be right. And that might be a good thing, because that might not be the best for Calgary. So we really collectively have to do what's best for Calgarians.
Alberta and Calgary are, probably like every other city in Canada, but I guess, it's perceived as a little bit more extreme, because you've got, someone that ran for the NDP in the last election running for mayor, and you've got someone that is extremely right wing. I'm not sure if a member of the Wild Rose Party, but ran in the last federal election as well, running. We have this perception that Edmonton is Redmonton, and very left wing, but the balance of Alberta and particularly Calgary extremely right wing, and more right wing than, frankly, the balance of conservatives across Canada. How do you bring that all together to create a cohesive agenda for a city?
Well, everyone's going to have their opinions, their beliefs of, and that's because you're right. We're going to have 10 new councillors. Okay. And now I have been talking to the candidates because what's important is first question I ask them is, look, can we work together? Because that's what we need to do is work together. And of course we're all going to come from different backgrounds and different beliefs, but ultimately we have to focus on what's best for Calgary.
So Nenshi, Mayor Nenshi, when he ran, I don't remember the exact percentage, but won with like 31% or something like that. And so therefore having a split between people on the right was the only way that he could get in. What's your path to victory?
Well, I think, the community, the Filipino community here is 75,000. It's one of the biggest, Asian communities in Calgary. So, the support of the Asian community is huge. Obviously, the nonprofits, but, it's, what, I'm just talking to as much people as possible and just getting my messaging out and really just trying to, produce positive results. Positive. Sure, there's results. Okay, might not be great, but we need to focus on the positive results.
So, Naheed Nenshi, I was wrong, wasn't the low 30s. It was 39% that he won, but it was a split that allowed him to win. But in his second election, he won with 74% of the vote. But then in his third election, it went down to 51%. And now he's not seeking a reelection. Why did he go from 39 up to 74 and then back down to 51? What was the problem that caused people to move away from him?
Well, I think, people were ready for change in the last election. And, there was actually problems with the ballots last time. We ran out of ballots, in certain wards where, the opposition was strong. So, people were lining up waiting for ballots. So when I submitted my election papers, one thing I said was, can we make sure that that doesn't happen at this election? We need the right number. Can't run out of ballots.
You can't run out of ballots, that's for sure.
So, so maybe that was part of it, and, the election system is, hopefully, going to be fair, and that's what we need is a fair election.
Right. CBC ran a big story about Calgary, I guess a week or so ago, saying that downtown office vacancy wasn't the problem, it was safety, and that because of the lack of people downtown, people didn't feel safe downtown and violence was up.
Well, during the pandemic, obviously everything was escalated. The mental illness, the domestic violence, right? I've spoken with the police, and the recovery center indicated their intake went up by 30%. But, our downtown is pretty safe, and the police are really doing a great job of doing that. And obviously, we support the police in order that they can support our safety. But, homelessness has gone up, like I was indicating, and that's what we really need to address is, really eradicating homelessness. But we need to bring that confidence back so that we can fill those towers and have a vibrant downtown again. And we can do it, but we really need to find solutions that will bring the world to Calgary and, let the world know that Calgary, Alberta is wide open for business. We really do need to do that.
So I was in Calgary 2 weeks ago for some business and for the Stampede, and it was wide open. And I was frankly surprised coming from Ontario how wide open it was. I didn't see many, if any, masks. People were hugging and shaking hands, both in meetings as well as at the bars around the Stampede and in the Stampede. And I guess your premier had really relaxed things in anticipation of the Stampede, or because of positive movements with infections. But it appears that may have backfired, and that there is a resurgence of COVID-19 and the Delta variant in Alberta in the last little while, particularly with young people and people that may have attended the Stampede. What do you think? How has Jason Kenney's handling of the pandemic been?
Well, I think we knew that the numbers were going to go up because it was so sudden, that we just opened like that. And I think people have Stockholm syndrome and they're still scared. They're at home and people are wearing masks. The attendance was down in the Stampede, so did we need to open for the Stampede? Knowing what the numbers were for attendance, don't think, we did. The Klondike didn't have one. CNE, PNE, you didn't have one. So I don't think we needed to have one.
So you think opening up for the Stampede was a mistake?
Yeah, I think it wasn't a great idea because, now we're seeing the numbers go up, and I don't think we're really ever going to get a handle on this COVID numbers. And we just need to really safely open the economy. And I know you guys have seen, devastation from this. You guys have been closed, I think, more than us.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing from businesses there because I work with franchisors, expanding all over the world. I'm back and forth to Toronto as well, and I've seen, when I'm in the pedways there, or, in your underground, subway, what's that called? The stores there, when your subways.
Yeah, the path
They're
system.
all closed. What's it called?
The path system.
Yes, yeah. And they're closed. And I was talking to one of the businesses there, and they're saying where it used to be so busy, what you get, 50,000 a day, or people using
well,
that.
downtown Toronto has been like a ghost town for the last year. There's no question.
Yes. And
people are hoping it'll come back. But, with 40% vacancy in Calgary, my gosh, that's a real ghost town.
It is. And how we can, one solution is really, we can fill those buildings with campuses.
Yeah.
And that would create bodies and activities downtown. And again, creating the confidence for those companies to come back, and even IT companies. IT companies are very tight. So when one comes, they all come. And they always ask each other, where are you going to be? Where are you going to be? And, will they pick a place that's going to be efficient? And so we really need to focus on cutting the red tape and eliminating the barriers so that it's easy for these companies to be filling those towers. And we encourage it.
I found it interesting to see in a major survey that jobs is the number one issue in Calgary, which we've been talking about a lot. But right behind jobs is healthcare, education, and crime and safety. Are you surprised by that?
No. Well, healthcare right now, because they're facing cuts. The nurses right now, it's a big topic. They're being asked to do what? I think a 3% wage rollback. And here they're the ones in the front line working more. And, the dedication from the frontline workers, and then to all of a sudden tell them they've got to take a pay cut. it's not going over very well, you know. So they're, obviously protesting and yeah, I think this is not the time to be cutting jobs. Um, we have to find a way as a government to create jobs and help have a business friendly environment so these businesses can create jobs.
Chatting tonight with Grace Yan, who is a candidate for mayor of Calgary. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back for some concluding comments. I'm just going to run through a couple of final issues with Grace in a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. We're on Saga 960. Really interesting conversation tonight with Grace Yan, who is a candidate for mayor in Calgary. She's born in Manila, Philippines, immigrated to Canada. Her parents were a math teacher and electronics teacher. Didn't have their experience validated in Canada, so they had to find new jobs and start new businesses, which they did. They successfully created a life for themselves and for Grace, who became a paralegal and then became a residential real estate broker and then a commercial real estate broker, very involved in her community, won some major awards, distinguished women awards, and is now running for mayor. She's not run before. She's running against 22 other people. The top 3 people in the polls are all city councilors. Something like 9 of all of the 14 council positions are going to turn over this election. Mayor Nenshi, who really had a fair amount of press internationally, ran and was mayor for 3 terms and is not running again, is stepping down. So Calgary's going to be up for some change, big change. And Grace wants to be one of the people leading that change. So Grace, let me ask you a couple of quick questions, if I could. Interviewed someone that said Alberta's got to get beyond the oil and gas business and accept that climate change is real and get into alternative energy. What do you think of that?
Well, of course, I mean, there's always different ways to have energy, but we really need to focus on, what's going to be best for Alberta and what's going to be best for Calgary. And we've always focused on oil and gas here in Calgary, and it's now time to diversify and welcome other industries to Calgary. And we are seeing a lot of IT companies because there is lots of benefits to be here in Calgary. I mean, on the scale of other cities, we're still relatively affordable. And so I think that's what we need to focus on is the affordability for these companies to be here, and for people why they should move to Calgary.
Some people think that Alberta is different than the rest of Canada and that you get a raw deal. And some people in the Wild Rose or other, Western alienation parties go so far as to say that Alberta should separate from Canada. What do you think about that?
Well, there is a group that does want to separate from Alberta, but, that is not an easy, task to do, really. So what we need to do as a province is all work together and help each other. And so Alberta needs a lot of help right now. And as mayor, that's what I need to do, though, is advocate, and work with with the provincial and federal government, and advocate what we need, especially here in Calgary. Our needs are always going to be different. And we need that strong voice to be able to negotiate with the provincial and federal government.
One of the reasons why your provincial budget isn't in as good shape as it could be is because you're the only province in Canada that doesn't have a sales tax. Should you have a GST or an HST or a sales tax provincially?
Well, we're also of provincial matters is also not what I do as a mayor, but obviously, this is something that I work with the provincial government. But, we also don't have the equalization payments, which we need the equalization payments right now. Okay. And we've been paying out astronomical numbers. So that needs to be reversed. We need the help right now. You know, Alberta needs a lot of help. Okay. And again, I can only advocate really as a mayor, for Calgary. And but overall, yes.
Some people think that the voting age, particularly in city elections, should be lowered to 16. What do you think of that?
Talking to the youth, they're very involved. I've been asked to speak at 3 different schools, and they are very knowledgeable. I mean, in grade 6, they're learning about politics. So quite a few schools have done their projects on this whole mayoral election, and I was chosen as one of the candidates. They're very involved and they're very knowledgeable. So you know what? I think 16, if they're already learning about politics and when they're 12 in grade 6, I think the youth should be involved.
Other people think that if you're a citizen, if you're a resident of a city, even if you're not a citizen, that you should be able to vote in municipal elections. Provincially and federally, you've got to be a citizen of Canada. But because the issues in cities are more about, they're not about citizen issues, they're about just living issues, that anyone that's a resident, even if they're not yet a citizen, should get to vote. What do you think of that?
If you're paying taxes in that city, you should be able to vote. Because if you're paying taxes, you should have a say in where your money goes.
What if you don't make enough money to pay taxes, but you're still a resident?
No, I'm just saying if you're a taxpayer, I think that should be the guideline.
So taxpayers, no matter whether they're citizens or not, should get to vote. What do you think if November, whatever, you get sworn in post the election, will be the major deciding reason why you win?
Well, it would be because of the positive solutions, okay, and positive results, and the focus on, a business-friendly environment so that we can create jobs for people.
It does seem a little bit sort of strange that if City Hall's got all the problems that you and other people have talked about, why the top 3 candidates would be existing city councillors. Maybe you should be looking for someone outside, like Grace Yan, as the potential mayor. If people are impressed by you and they want to donate to you or vote for you or support you or just phone their friends and family in Calgary and say, think about Grace Yan, is there a website they can go to?
Yes, it's Grace Yan for mayor, so FOR mayor.com.
Grace Yan for mayor. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it, and good luck, and come back and tell us how the campaign's going.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's our show for tonight. Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960. I come to you every night, Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca. All my podcasts and videocasts are available on briancrombie.com, on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Apple Podcasts, on Audible Podcast, and Speakeasy, anywhere that you can possibly get social media. I'm there. Thanks for joining us. Grace Yan, I think you got a good chance. Good luck.
Thank you.